we're ready.
Ready? You're good.
All right. This is July 11th, 6:12 p.m. and calling to order a FinCom warrant advisory meeting. And I'm going to begin the meeting with a statement here. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Finance and Warrant Advisory Committee is in a remote format with using Zoom video conferencing. To join the meeting, visit www.zoom.us/join and enter meeting ID 819-9633-7831 and passcode 503269. This meeting will be broadcast and recorded on local public access station, Verizon 31 and Charter Spectrum 191, and live stream on the town's YouTube channel when available. Okay, let me just flip back here to you all. All right, so I believe our agenda tonight is to look at some year-end transfers. And I'm not sure if we have any other business to discuss, but we're going to start. Maybe we can start and invite Mr. Smith and Harrison to talk about the year-end transfers. Thank you. Actually, do we need to do a roll call as well, or do we do that after?
Yeah, we should probably start with a roll call to start the meeting and via Zoom.
Yep. All right. So I'll start by saying, this is Jared Quill, and I'm present via Zoom.
Sarah Clemens, present via Zoom.
Matt Eichmann, present and via Zoom.
Ryan Jamross, present and via Zoom.
George Watson, present and via Zoom.
All right. I think Christine, that takes care of getting the meeting started. And we'll turn it over to you now, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that's what we have on the agenda tonight is year-end transfers. It needs to be done by July 15th. We generally do it in the second week of July once we get all the last minute expenses tallied up, and Tim runs those numbers. We typically have the select board first and then the finance committee. Because of timing and other issues, we're doing it the opposite. So it's pretty much the same either way. But we need concurrence from both boards for these transfers to be enacted. The bottom line is we have roughly, and do you have copies of the transfers? We forwarded them to
Mom Jamrose.
Pat Morris. But yes, I don't know that.
I believe we got them from Pat on Saturday.
Okay.
And let's see, actually, you know what? I'm not seeing them.
So do you folks have a copy of the transfers?
No, I didn't see him either.
Yeah, no, I received 2 emails Saturday, but they were not attached.
Hey, Chris?
Jim, while you talk, I could hold my copy up. I don't know if anyone can see it. Can you read that?
Yeah, the bottom line is we have roughly $72,000 worth of transfers, year-end transfers. And I can sort of break it down a little bit to make it easier to understand. So we're starting at 72,000, which is close to 0.02% of our budget of 35 million. So it's a pretty small group of transfers we're looking at. And a number of these transfers were, or all of them were essentially out of control, cost beyond our control. They were cost beyond our control. The biggest one is gas and diesel. That was a $25,000 hit to our budget. We all know what that's doing to all of our budgets. So we are on a state bid list, but it still goes up. It is less than the average person pays, but it's still a significant increase. So we had to transfer 25,000 to that account to cover those over expenditures. The other one is police department expenses. We took 10,000. As you know, dealing with the police department, we started a couple of years ago with a big chunk of unknowns. And I think at the top of the police department budget under expenses, just expenses. And we're starting to weed them down and put them in different categories where they belong, because we're understanding the true cost of running a new police station, a $10 million, $9 million police station. So I think a year from now, when we have the solar panels fully active for the entire year versus January, February of this year, you'll see fewer expenses within that department. So we're dealing with it, and it's coming down, but it is a process that we deal with a new facility.
Can I add one more thing to that, Jim?
Sure.
The police department having their own building, in their budget, they pay for their own utilities, which includes diesel and whatever they use for heating, propane, electricity. So those costs have gone up just like they have in our general budget and your own home budgets. So that's part of the 10,000 too, is their utility costs have gone up greater than we had budgeted.
I have this. You can scan it in. It's too much work. We'll kind of talk it through it. Thanks, Chris. So Chris came in and she asked whether I want to send this out to you, but I just think it's too much work to try to scan it in and try to share it and do all this other stuff, unless you folks want to do that. You will see it presented to the select board tomorrow night in full presentation, but I want to answer any questions that you might have to go through this. So some other costs that we've had is on health insurance. We essentially had a transfer of an additional 8,000 to cover HSA costs, health savings accounts, because more people signed up for the health savings account, which is good because we want to have that happen. And essentially, we took that money out of the health reimbursement account, which was there for another funding structure. So it's essentially a wash. The bottom line on health insurance is we still transferred over $100,000 to the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund. So we're definitely in the positive there. It's just a difference of HRA versus HSA. So it's sort of a wash, in my opinion, taking it out of the HRA and putting it into the health savings account, which in the long run saves us money with health insurance. And that's the majority of the big costs. And then we have a bunch of small costs.
Jim, how much was that HSA?
HSA, the increase was $8,210.
All right, we were just at 25 and 9. Was it 9 for the police station or 10?
10.
10 for the
So
police.
35 and 8. So
Yeah.
43,000.
Well, the way I look at it is I start at 72. And I take out the health insurance cost of $8,000. So that's down to 64, 65. Then I take 25,000 out for oil and gas, diesel and gasoline. Then it comes down to 40,000. And then we take 10,000 out for the police station. And then we're down to $30,000. And out of that 30,000, we also had an increase in our audit costs mid-year because of all the financial audits that we have to go through because of the CARES money received, the ARPA money received, and the money that the school department received. We're now required to do a federal audit on those funds. And so our audit company, Melanson, increased that fee by $4,000. A nominal cost, but it's still funds that weren't accounted for in our original budget. The other big cost is Board of Assessors contract services. Here's Pat Morris. You want me to take this or?
Yeah.
Hey, Pat. I need to apologize. Well, you know, we're in the meeting now, so, and we have a quorum, so I think we're good to go.
Okay, I apologize. I had some issues and I just walked in the door here.
Not a problem. We should be wrapping this up relatively shortly, so.
Okay, I apologize. Bye.
Not a problem. So you folks heard it as well as I did. So the Board of Assessors contract services, that was utilizing our primary contact or individual to assist us with assessing issues. Randy's his first name. Tim, you know his last name?
No.
He used to work for Vision, and he's got really good experience. And he essentially filled in a role that we needed him to do this year. The assessors, all the new technology and everything had provided some interesting issues for them, and they were struggling. Randy came in and helped make sure everything worked well. So in the end, it all works out, but it costs us another $7,200 out of contract services. The principal assessor is retiring at the end of this month with 35 years of experience here in the town of Sutton, and she will be missed. You know, but we now have a chance to hire a new assessor, and my expectation is these costs will disappear with the next assessor. You know, the technology of the assessing world has taken over, and it's provided a little bit of stress on our existing department. So, you know, hopefully this is just a one-time cost. We're not anticipating having to deal with this next year, but we are in the process of hiring an assessor. We posted it in the Telegram. It'll be in the MMA Beacon within the next week or so. So that's a little update on that. Tim, I don't know if you want to add to that or not.
No, I think that covered it.
So that's, you know, was 30, and then minus 7, that's 23. And then there's a number of small, you know, small accounts that we had to move money around. Some of it was for capital items that the department heads overspent. You know, part of that's just a management issue. Part of it is some of the department heads came to us, let us know what that over expenditure was, what they were dealing with, and we advised them, take it out of your operational budget. Others just kind of did it on their own and tried to figure it out and move the money around. It's not what we like to see. We're going to talk to them tomorrow at department head meeting and just reinforce, you know, if you do feel like a capital item is going over budget, then you need to talk to us and we'll work through that. And maybe we go to fall town meeting and get a transfer and figure it out. But there are a handful of items. You know, I'll give you a couple of examples. One is the highway radio article. I think we appropriated $210,000 in that article, a capital plan article. The true cost came in closer to $15,000, $16,000. So we transferred, you know, roughly $5,000 out of one budget to make up that additional amount. So it was an over expense on a capital item. And there were, you know, a few others. There was a cemetery barn door that was came in over budget by $2,000. So the cost was roughly $6,000 or $7,000. It really probably should have been a capital item, but our highway superintendent's very creative. He just took it out of his operating budget. So these are the small little items that we have to deal with on an annual basis. But the bottom line is it's such a small part of our budget. Doesn't change the fact that we want to improve and get better with this. But it is something we have to deal with.
And we've also gone through a, crazy time with, everything's costing more. No matter what you try and purchase, lumber, anything, it's way more than it was a year ago. So when this capital plan was put together and voted on in May of 21, costs have come in higher. It's either you try and cut the scope back or you do the job that you wanted to and it costs a little bit more. These are kind of things that are, most of the stuff is just out of our control. We do the best we can to control it, but we can't do anything about inflation.
No.
Yeah, that's a good point. The fact is when people submit a capital plan item, they get a quote. It's not a contract, it's a quote. It's it's best case estimate. But when it takes a year to implement it or a year and a half to implement that program, those costs are going to go up. They went up nominally with the highway radio system, which according to, everybody works perfectly and integrates well with the police and fire and EMS system. But there was an additional cost to that. All of these transfers are coming out of the following accounts. Tax title expenses, $10,000, casualty insurance, $10,000, wages for a sustainability director, that was Doreen DeFazio, where we brought that in-house. That'll be done with Jen Hager. She will be running the Green Communities program from now on. Town council, we had a $20,000 transfer from there. Veterans benefits, we had $15,000 more available. And the health reimbursement account, which I mentioned is kind of a wash with the HSA, kind of swapping those two. That's where these funds are coming from, for a total of $72,040. And they're going to what I had talked about the last 10 minutes or so, these different accounts.
All right. I see you joined via Zoom.
First off, I apologize. I got caught at a doctor's appointment and I could not make my phone work while I was frantically driving home. So I apologize.
No worries. No worries. Glad you made it home safely. So do you want me to hand the reins over to you?
You continue. You continue.
I'll continue. Okay. All right. So thank you, Jim, for sharing. I don't know if anybody has any questions on what we discussed so far.
Yeah, this is Sarah Clemens. Just a quick question on some of the items that you've mentioned. Sound like they'll also affect our costs going into the next fiscal year, especially the gasoline and some of the inflation items. So I just wanted to check at a highest level if we think that our budget is going to be way out of whack into certain line items, or if we're anticipating a shortage already going into the next fiscal year.
It's a good question. We did put an extra, I think it was $10,000 into gas and diesel. Again, this was the budget planning process, which was February, March. But we may have to make a transfer at fall town meeting to add to that account particularly.
Okay. All right. We'll look for that. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm good. Everything you said made sense. And I thought with inflation, last inflation numbers at 8.63, I think that's reasonable.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the transfers as stated.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second the motion.
All right. So we have a motion to accept the town transfers as stated by Mr. Smith, both the purpose and the funding sources, sorry, of where those transfers are coming from. Any discussion? Any further discussion, I should say. All right, all in favor, say aye.
You have to take a
Actually-
roll.
Actually,
You have to
sorry,
take a
yeah, we'll
roll
do a roll.
call.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we will. So let's go. Maybe we'll try to, if you all remember the order we batted in at the top of the call. Pat, you'll clean up at the end. And
Okay.
so this is Jared Quill via Zoom. Aye.
Sarah Clements, aye.
Matt Eichmann via Zoom, aye.
Ryan Jamrus via Zoom, aye.
George Watson, aye, via Zoom.
You're up, Pat.
Oh, Pat Morris, aye, via Zoom.
All right. So that concludes that. I don't know if we have any other business, Pat, to discuss.
No, that's no. I don't think we have any other meetings here. And the next time we get together, we need to decide on reorganizing or whatever it is we would like to do. Mike, I do have one question though. Is this has to be signed? Jim?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, then never mind the question.
But Pat, can you do us a favor and send the email out with this transfer request to all the members? They didn't
Yeah.
get it. And that, if you can get that out to them either tonight or tomorrow, if there's any questions, they can reach out to me or Jim at the town hall tomorrow before we meet with the selectmen to go over the same transfer request.
Okay, well, I looked and I didn't see that I had it. So, but I'll check my junk mail.
We can check with Debbie in the morning too, to make sure she sent it, and she can send it again to you to distribute.
Okay, thank you. And again, I apologize, but I knew that if I got stopped, that you get the ticket fixed.
All right. So Pat, if there's no other business, I don't think we have any other meetings scheduled. I imagine at some point in September, we'll pick up and get ready for the fall town meeting, whatever
That's
items
right.
we need to discuss.
All right.
So with that, everyone enjoy the rest of your summer. Pat, slow
All right.
down.
Yeah, I will.
Easy.
I promise you. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Wait, you
Jared,
need a
thank you.
motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
And I'll say. all right,
Need a roll
and I'll
call
say-
vote.
Yeah, you got a roll call again. I'm sorry.
Eyes, Jared Quill, aye.
Sarah Clements, aye.
Matt Eichmann, aye.
Ryan Jamrus, aye.
George Watson, aye.
Pat Morris, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you, guys. Have a good night.
Hi, guys.
Happy New Year.
Have a good night. Thank you.